So today guys, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be showing you how to make a Dub Techno chord. It's really simple. It's not the most complex dub chord you'll ever hear or anything, but it's just like a really simple and easy way to get into writing it. So if you need to write a Dub Techno chord for a track, or you just want to play about with it on another kind of musical genre, this is like the easiest way of making one. So the core of the sound is to actually make it so that you've got a minor triad chord, and I'm not going to admit and say that I'm like the most what's the word, like the sort of person that's into music theory. I'm more into like the technical side and using the synthesizers and programming them and using sequencer, opposed to like playing to music theory. But really what all you need to do is just look online for a minor chord. Generally like A minor works really well for dub techno, and essentially just play that. I find that if you are to try and write like a sort of pattern, you don't want to really have any key changes generally in techno. So what all you need to do is you need to find a note. So you find a chord, and then you just play that as a pattern, like it's a drum pattern, and it's just repetitive, but all the variations kind of come from the effects. So if we listen, and I'll show you what I've got on the chord, so I'll just demonstrate. So what I was doing there, I was actually playing about with the sends on the sound, and that is one of the sort of key things to dub techno, or just dub in general, where what you do is you get a sound, generally the chord, and you send it through a reverb or a delay or both through send return channels on your mixer. You don't have to always do it on a return. So you have a channel that's for your send. So on Ableton, it's by default you've just got these two, and all you need to do is just turn B or A up, just like that. So you slide it up, and then it'll increase the volume that's getting sent there. And then once it does, you can program the delay however you want. I generally find 3 and 5 are the best. But play around with the sound, try and mess about with what the filter's doing, try and bandpass the sound like that, so that you've got no bass and not too much top end. And then what it does is it brings the sound to the centre, so that you're not conflicting with any of the bass, or you're not really conflicting with a lot of your drums, like your hi-hats and stuff that are in the top end. And what it does is it keeps all that energy in the mid-range, and it kind of just, it helps it in the mix, so everything sounds better with that sound, because it's like perfectly kind of mixed in with everything, and it's not clashing with much. And you can do things like you can send under the send on the sends. You can actually do a feedback loop, so you can send itself, the signal. You can send from one send to another. So you could send this to A, so you could go into the delay and then into the reverb from that, and you can just stack all these sounds on top of each other in like a feedback loop. If you were writing in like the analog domain with mixers and everything, you get a bit of a slightly different sound from it, and you can kind of get the character of the desk, whereas on Ableton it's not too characterful all the time, so it's kind of wise to sometimes stack some plugins that add a bit of character, when you're sending it through one effect to another. So all it is to the sound really is that you just need to kind of find what you enjoy rather than try and sound like anyone else. And yeah, so that's really it for that. And in regards to the processing and how I wrote the sound, I just opened up Operator and I made sure that the decay is very, very short. That's the key to this sound. The decay is really, really short, and I did that by just reducing the time here and just making sure that the attack envelope's more or less 0, the release and the sustain 0. And then in terms of what the sound is actually like, I played about with just in general the settings in Operator, because I think unless you're like a scientist or something, you generally programming an FM synth's a bit of an art form, like a dark art. So for techno, it's fine because you can just turn these faders up and you get loads of like bell and clank type sounds, which is really, really good for techno. But in other genres, not so good. But for this, it's perfect. So you get that. I've added a compressor just to bring out some of the transients of the sound and to also sidechain. So I've got this one here for that, so that when the 909 kick drum comes in, it just sidechains off of that, and then obviously it brings out the other sounds that come in when the kick drum's not playing, and it's just like, it just makes it sound better. Compressors always make things sound better, unless you're doing something wrong. So that's that for that. I've added a hybrid reverb. This it was actually like it was like more of an echo, so I used a space flattened echo for this, and I just turned the wet and dry down to 26%, which I thought sounds really, really good, so I went with that. And then for VQ, I've taken all the bass off and I've scooped some of the top end and just band passed it a little bit. So that's it. That's really the core of the sound, and that's all it is. And this is what you get at the end. So